Find a safe and comfortable position. Make sure you're not driving, operating machinery, or cooking. Whenever you feel like it, gently close down your eyes as you prepare yourself for an ASMR experience or simply relaxation. Time for a Scottish fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess named Goldtree. Her beauty was impeccable all over the world. Poor child had lost her mother, but not her happiness, for she had a loving father who did everything to make his daughter happy. But her father married again, to his daughter's dismay. The new queen, named Silvertree, was quite beautiful herself, but she also had a major flaw, for she was the jealous type. So jealous was she that she dreaded the day she would discover someone else, even prettier than herself. Upon meeting her stepdaughter, she realized she now had a rival. This made her so ill with envy and fear of people thinking the young princess to be more beautiful than her. Indeed, their relationship was too far from pleasant. The new queen did not hide her feelings toward her pretty stepdaughter. Years went by. Little Goldtree turned into a beautiful young lady. One day, they were both taking a walk and reached a well in the middle of a valley. The still, clear water in this well was as good as a mirror, and Queen Silvertree loved to look at her own reflection. And as she looked into the well that day, she spotted a little fish swimming about. "Tell me, little fish," said the queen, "am I not the most beautiful woman in the world?" "No, you are not," said the fish. "Who is it then, if not myself? Who is the most beautiful woman in the world?" she asked, irritated. The queen did not like to hear unpleasant facts. "But Princess Goldtree, of course," said the little fish. And the queen was infuriated at once, which scared the little fish away, diving fast to the bottom of the well. The queen then turned at her stepdaughter and stared at her with menace. The princess did not notice this, for she was standing far away from the well. But Queen Silvertree quite often lost her ability to hide her rage at the thought that anyone would believe she was not the most beautiful woman. When they came back home that day from their walk, she stormed up to her room and did not come out, claiming she had fallen ill. Princess Goldtree tried to find out what the matter was with her stepmother, but there was no answer. She also kindly asked her if there was anything that she could do for her. But the queen was furious and pushed the princess away. And so the princess left her stepmother's room, confused about the queen's condition. After a while, the king came home. He had been out hunting. When he asked for the queen, they told him that she had fallen ill. They said not even the physician could figure out what her illness was. Now the king was alarmed. He rushed to her room and asked her if there was anything that he could do. Yes, she answered sharply, but I'm sure that you will not do this for me. And to think that this would be my only cure. You know I would do anything for you. You know me better than to say these words to me. Please, tell me what it is that you want me to do to cure you. Then give me your daughter's heart to eat, she screamed, or else I will surely die, and I will die soon. The king could not recognize her. She appeared as if possessed by an evil spirit. He fell into despair as he had no idea whatsoever how to respond to this chaos he found himself in. But after a while, as he was going through some possible solutions in his head, he remembered the son of a great king had arrived from a country far away, and he was so enchanted by his daughter that he asked him for her hand in marriage. That would be a blessing, he thought. This marriage will take place at once. This is how I will rescue my daughter. When husband and wife leave to start a new life at his kingdom far away from here, I will get someone to kill a goat, and I will offer the goat's heart to my wife. Perhaps this will calm her down. So he had the strange prince summoned before him and told him how the queen had taken a sudden illness that had wrought on her brain and had caused her to take a dislike to the princess, and how it seemed as if it would be a good thing if, with the maiden's consent, the marriage could take place at once, so that the queen might be left alone to recover from her strange malady. Now the prince was delighted to gain his bride so easily, and the princess was glad to escape from her stepmother's hatred. So the marriage took place at once, and the newly wedded pair set off across the sea for the prince's country. Then the king sent a lad up the hillside to kill a he-goat, and when it was killed, he gave orders that its heart should be dressed and cooked and sent to the queen's apartment on a silver dish. And the wicked woman tasted it, believing it to be the heart of her stepdaughter. And when she had done so, she rose from her bed and went about the castle, looking as well and hearty as ever. I'm glad to be able to tell you that the marriage of Princess Goldtree, which had come about in such a hurry, turned out to be a great success, for the prince whom she had wedded was rich and great and powerful, and he loved her dearly, and she was as happy as the day was long. So things went peacefully on for a year. Queen Silvertree was satisfied and contented because she thought that her stepdaughter was dead, while all the time the princess was happy and prosperous in her new home. But at the end of the year, it chanced that the queen went once more to the well in the little glen in order to see her face reflected in the water. And it chanced also that the same little trout was swimming backwards and forwards, just as he had done the year before. And the foolish queen, determined to have a better answer to her question this time than she had last. "Trouty, Trouty," she whispered, leaning over the edge of the well, "am I not the most beautiful woman in the world?" "By my troth, thou art not," answered the trout in his very straightforward way. "Who is the most beautiful woman, then?" asked the queen, her face growing pale at the thought that she had yet another rival. "Why, your Majesty's stepdaughter, the Princess Goldtree, to be sure," answered the trout. The queen threw back her head with a sigh of relief. "Well, at any rate, people cannot admire her now," she said, "for it is a year since she died. I ate her heart for my supper." "Art thou sure of that, your Majesty?" asked the trout, with a twinkle in his eye. "Methinks it is but a year since she married the gallant young prince who came from abroad to seek her hand and returned with him to his own country." When the queen heard these words, she turned quite cold with rage, for she knew that her husband had deceived her, and she rose from her knees and went straight home to the palace, and hiding her anger as best as she could, she asked him if he would give orders to have the longship made ready, as she was to go and visit her dear stepdaughter, for it was such a very long time since she had seen her. The king was somewhat surprised at her request, but he was only too glad to think that she had got over her hatred towards his daughter, and he gave orders that the longship should be made ready at once. Soon it was speeding over the water, its prow turned in the direction of the land where the princess lived, steered by the queen herself, for she knew the course that the boat ought to take, and she was in such haste to be at her journey's end that she would allow no one else to take the helm. Now it chanced that Princess Goldtree was alone that day, for her husband had gone hunting, and as she looked out of one of the castle windows, she saw a boat coming sailing over the sea towards the landing place. She recognized it as her father's longship, and she guessed only too well whom it carried on board. She was almost beside herself with terror at the thought, for she knew that it was for no good purpose that Queen Silvertree had taken the trouble to set out to visit her, and she felt that she would have given almost anything she possessed if her husband had but been at home. In her distress, she hurried into the servants' hall. "Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do?" she cried. "For I see my father's longship coming over the sea, and I know that my stepmother is on board, and if she hath a chance, she will kill me, for she hates me more than anything else upon earth." Now the servants worshipped the ground that their young mistress trod on, for she was always kind and considerate to them, and when they saw how frightened she was and heard her words, they crowded round her as if to shield her from any harm that threatened her. "Do not be afraid, your highness," they cried. "We will defend thee with our very lives, if need be. But in case thy lady stepmother should have the power to throw any evil spell over thee, we will lock thee in the great mullioned chamber. Then she cannot get nigh thee at all." Now the mullioned chamber was a strong room, which was in a part of the castle all by itself, and its door was so thick that no one could possibly break through it, and the princess knew that if she were once inside the room, with a stout oaken door between her and her stepmother, she would be perfectly safe from any mischief that this wicked woman could devise. So she consented to her faithful servant's suggestion and allowed them to lock her in the mullioned chamber. So it came to pass that once Queen Silvertree arrived at the great door of the castle and commanded the lackey who opened it to take her to his royal mistress, he told her with a low bow that this was impossible, because the princess was locked in the strong room of the castle and could not get out, because no one knew where the key was, which was quite true, for the old butler had tied it round the neck of the prince's favourite sheep-dog, and had sent him away to the hills to seek his master. "Take me to the door of the apartment," commanded the queen. "At least I can speak to my dear daughter through it." And the lackey, who did not see what harm could possibly come from this, did as he was bid. "If the key is really lost, and thou canst not come out to welcome me, dear Goldtree," said the deceitful queen, "at least put thy little finger through the keyhole, that I may kiss it." The princess did so, never dreaming that evil could come to her through such a simple action. But it did, for instead of kissing the tiny finger, her stepmother stabbed it with a poisoned needle, and so deadly was the poison that before she could utter a single cry, the poor princess fell as one dead on the floor.